White House Press Secretary Kayleigh yesterday denied that its memo shared with news outlets criticizing Dr. Anthony Fauci's past comments was the results of opposition research when it clearly was. It was sent to every member of the media in the press corps. They are trying to hurt Fauci's credibility. I want you to listen to this.
I think Fauci's doing a good job of that himself, though, Brian.
Well, again, we can disagree on that all you want to, but Donald Trump is the one who said he doesn't like unnamed sources. That is exactly, make no mistake about it, exactly what the White House did. They used an unnamed source. They refused to mention this supposed doctor's name that is opposing Anthony Fauci. They gave the memo to members of the press, and they're not sourcing who it was. So Jim Acosta had a little exchange with this report that was sent out to the news outlets on Dr. Fauci. And I want you to listen to Jim Acosta's question, and I want you to listen to Kayleigh's response. Have a listen to this.
Why is the White House trashing Dr. Fauci and sending out opposition research like memos to reporters? The president has gone off on anonymous sources in the past. Why not have the guts to trash Dr. Fauci with your own names?
So President Trump, I'll refer you back. There's no opposition research being dumped to reporters. We were asked a very specific question by the Washington Post, and that question was President Trump noted that Dr. Fauci had made some mistakes, and we provided a direct answer to what was a direct question.
And that direct answer was an unnamed source, a supposed health expert, and they wouldn't name who quoted it, and it made Dr. Fauci look bad. Now, here's
Brian, I actually think that the unnamed source is Dr. David Samadi, who I've been in touch with, who I believe we're going to get on the show soon.
Okay, well, I don't know who that is, and I have no idea whether that's true or not. What I do know is that the White House used an unnamed source to make Trump look good and make Fauci look bad, when the president all along for 3.5 years has been blasting people in the media for using unnamed sources. He is a hypocrite. You could add that to the list. So Jim Acosta continued to press Kayleigh on that. Listen to this exchange.
The president made mistakes. He suggested at one point that Americans inject themselves with disinfectants, that sort of thing. Why not send out these notes to reporters about what Dr. Fauci said in the past with your names on it? They were sent out by a White House official. The president has said he doesn't trust anonymous sources, and yet you were sending out these notes to reporters anonymously.
Look, I would note that in terms of the president and his record on coronavirus, he stands by the actions and the steps he's taken in this historic response. You have Dr. Fauci, who said that the record of this president is impressive. I can't imagine that under any circumstance that anybody could be doing more, and those are the words of Dr. Fauci. We provided a direct response to a direct question, and that's about it. And to the notion that there's opposition research and that there's Fauci versus the president couldn't be further from the truth. Dr. Fauci and the president have always had a very good working relationship.
Okay, so she doesn't answer the question. And by the way, Jim Acosta, you could say what you want about him. That was a very, very valid and good question. The president of the United States for 3.5 years blast anybody who uses anonymous sources. That is exactly what the White House did. They used an anonymous, unnamed source to basically put opposition towards what Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying.
But why are we not blasting Anthony Fauci on January 26th, saying that coronavirus wouldn't be that big of a deal? We're not sure about the community transmission. Basically the same thing in February. Then he talked about how masks weren't necessary in March, and now that's changed. Okay. And then also he attacked hydroxychloroquine, and there was a big study that came out of Henry Ford in Detroit that showed that hydroxychloroquine, when given to patients, and it was a 2,000-person study, it was a good-sized study, but it actually reduced the amount of time or the chances of death by nearly
what I'll
half.
Say to that.
And then he also touted remdesivir, which is the new.
I know you're giving out the list.
He called it's not a list.
Let me respond to that.
He called it the standard of care, and then remdesivir comes out, and apparently it costs 300 times more than hydroxychloroquine.
So let me respond to that.
So why can't we blast Fauci for that?
I'm trying to answer you,
and not talk about Trump and unnamed sources.
I will gladly.
I feel like it's a false equivalency.
I will gladly answer you. First of all, there is no scientist or doctor in the history of medical practice that has not made mistakes before. That's number one. Just because Anthony Fauci has made mistakes doesn't mean that you should get opposition research and be a hypocrite. That's exactly what the White House did. Now, we're not talking about right now the mistakes, the possible mistakes that Anthony Fauci has made. By the way, the administration and plenty of politicians across the board, doctors, scientists, have made mistakes in the past. Anthony Fauci's not the only one. But what we are talking about, make no mistake about it, is the fact that, again, You can't have it both ways. If it fits your narrative, in this case Donald Trump, it's okay to use anonymous sources because they're too big of a coward to actually say which doctor or scientist is putting in the opposition to Dr. Fauci. And Kayleigh did not answer the question. Donald Trump, for years, has been against unnamed sources that made him look bad. Never had a problem with anything that made him look good, and it's called credibility, and you have no credibility, and you can't have it both ways.
I'm saying you're attacking Trump for this, and we should be really attacking Fauci because we don't know how many people have died because of hydroxychloroquine. We don't know how many people have gotten the virus because they didn't know that masks were okay. We don't know how many people have died because he said that the coronavirus wasn't going to be as big of a deal as it was for X amount of time. Well, I think Anthony Fauci should be getting the brunt of this because he's the National Institute of Health. He is the chief virologist of the United States. He's the one that him and Deborah Birx, they talked to Trump and he said, okay, we have to lock this country down, and Trump agreed with him and he created the lockdown,
so here's my response to that.
Which cost millions of people their jobs. Anthony Fauci needs a lot of negative attention here, and I think that he should be taken out of the Trump administration. I think that Dr. David Simonyi or whoever it is should be replacing him. I think he's done a terrible job.
So here's what I think, and I'll retort by saying the president has done a horrible job. First of all, we don't know how many people. Let me respond. You got to let me respond now. We don't know how many people have died because the president of the United States refused to wear a mask and as opposition to wearing a mask until the last few weeks. That's number one. Number two, we don't know how many people have died because the president has decided to hold rallies. We don't know how many people have died because the president did nothing in 2 very key months when this virus was spreading. So if you want to talk about Dr. Fauci and you want to talk about Dr. Fauci for perhaps making some mistakes, you have to also go to the commander-in-chief. And if Donald Trump thinks that Dr. Fauci is not credible, and if Donald Trump thinks that Dr. Fauci has done nothing but make mistakes, maybe he shouldn't have hired him in the first place. But I want to move on now.
Fauci has been with the last 8 administrations.
I understand he has. I understand he has. But I just disagree with you with what you're talking about here. But Donald Trump just commented on his relationship with Dr. Fauci, the man who you've named a list of the horrible things that you think he's done.
Not horrible things, just mistakes that I believe that he's made. And I think that he is supporting a very, very expensive drug when hydroxychloroquine, which has not really been given a chance, could be very, very effective for a lot of patients that didn't get it, and it could have killed them.
It has been given a chance, and it's been tested time and time over the course of the last 6 months when it comes to this stuff. Donald Trump recently just commented on his relationship with Dr. Fauci yesterday. Have a listen to this.
Well, I have a very good relationship with Dr. Fauci. I've had for a long time, right from the beginning. I find him to be a very nice person. I don't always agree with him.
Okay, well, not always agreeing with someone is fine, but the last time Donald Trump spoke with Dr. Fauci was the first week of June. My question is, if that's the case, why is he even still there at that point?